Okay, everyone, in a few minutes, we are going to be interviewing the creators of the game I played for the past couple of days. Actually, let me make myself a little bit bigger. Um, Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death. I do have some interview questions for them. I've never done this before, so please bear with me. And if you, well, there is the cheat sheet right there. Editor, put that to the side. Um, yep, I'm gonna have the devs on in about 5 minutes. So if you guys have any questions you want me to ask, please feel free to put them in chat. Let's see. And that is my gameplay. It's just playing in the background, so we'll just be chatting while I my gameplay runs in the background. Right now only the demo is out, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the link to the game or to the demo in, or the store page on Steam in the chat. I'm going to link it. And I will post it. So you guys will have it there. And it will be lifted. So I'm going to pin that. I'm going to pin it till end of stream. Or until I manually unpin it. Sound good to everyone? It's so weird because on my screen that I'm facing most of the times to ask questions, I have the gameplay running, so sometimes I look down and my model isn't doing exactly what I'm doing and I'm like, "Oh no." But anyway, excuse me. Sorry, that was absolutely me being me. Okay. I have some questions, but once again, if anyone in the chat has questions, or you guys can always send questions through my Discord. And on that note, I should probably make sure that everything is going okay and it's all posted in Discord. And I will, in about 3 minutes, call the devs. So I'll go on a mini intermission to make sure that they're all ready and prepared to go in or come in to the call. But yeah, this was a really cute game. I did enjoy playing it. Although I was sometimes I was just taking the piss. I do feel a little bad, but it was still fun. It was good. And I'm excited for it to come out. Right now you can wishlist it on Steam. Oh, and just in case this stream is not sponsored or anything like that, um, I have, I know the devs, which is why when they dropped the demo, I was like, sure, I'll play it. Maybe I can stream it. And I liked it enough to be like, okay, I'll just stream it. And then I beat it. I played it like the first time, and then I stopped, didn't play it for a while. I just played it on like during my Halloween streams like 2 years ago. And you know how I be on Halloween. So after that, I added it to the picker wheel because, oh man, I was like, I keep forgetting to stream this again, but it was good, so I need to stream it again. And I know them, so I should give them, some more shout out. And so I did. And I was lucky because, I had thrown around the idea of maybe them coming on for an interview, and I wasn't sure they would like it, but it seems like they're interested, so I'm excited to do this interview with them, and should be good. And after the interview, so I've never done an interview before. I'm not sure how long the interview will be. After the interview, if we still have time, I'll still spiel and play video games as normal. I can't forget to hydrate. But yeah. Yay, exciting. All right. I'm going to go to intermission right now. And then I'm going to call them and make sure they're ready. And I will see you in a second. Be right back. Better? Perfect. All right. Now we have everybody's sound. Welcome, guys. Hi, Chris. Hi, Paige. I don't have a huge audience, but I'm glad I could platform you guys in your game. I think your game is
We're really happy
absolutely
to be here.
adorable.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about yourself and your game. This is your good chance for you to do a little commercial.
All right, I guess I'll start. My name is Chris Hendricks. I'm one of the two developers of Sunflowers and the Gods of Death. Um, I don't know, would you like us to do like tell you about the game in general or just
Well, I mean, I can just start asking you spitting out questions like this is your first game that you guys have ever made?
yes, it is.
Oh, that's really good for a first game. How long has it taken you to get the game to this point?
So we've been working on it for about 3 years, um, full time. We started working on the game about 3 years ago, sort of just as like a hobby, but as we got more into it, it became, a full-time job for us. And we picked up a publisher, and everything's just been going great. We're doing our best.
Nice. And so what inspired you to take the I know that you're a gamer. I've gamed with you before, Chris. What
Absolutely.
inspired you to take the leap from gamer to developer?
So for me, creating a game, creating a world, and telling stories is something that I've always loved and always wanted to do. I've messed around with other game engines in the past during college and things like that. Um, but it basically boiled down to I had a good amount of money in savings, um, and I wasn't getting any younger. So I felt like now was the best time to try to chase that dream and create a game worth playing, a story worth telling.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. But what time is better than now to take the leap? I definitely understand that. Um, so as far as creating a game worth playing, I know you guys have been working on this together, and I think I saw in the credits that you guys also did a lot of the writing. Is this a story that you guys had been working on that whole time, or you had the idea for the game first and like the kind of mechanics you wanted, and then had the story built around that, or did you have this like world envisioned and then you were like, this would make this a great type kind of RPG like this, like the Final Fantasy type?
That's a really good question. Um, so I definitely want to let Paige answer some questions here, but since I do most of the writing, I guess I'll answer this one too. Um, but so it started with we just kind of started laying the foundations for a game, sort of building out the engine, um, and learning how to do pixel art, learning how to use all the different softwares involved with that, like GIMP and Clip Studio, and basically sort of building our foundation up from there. And the story, I was kind of just I have a little notebook that I write down ideas and story ideas in, and I would just scribble stuff in this notebook over time while we were learning. Um, and it sort of just kind of burgeoned from there. Yeah.
So I did see in the credits that most of the art was designed by you, Paige. Do you have a history of an artist as an artist and with digital art?
So no, actually, so I mainly wanted to help support Chris with his vision and dream of telling his story for Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death, and we found that we definitely needed art help as a being a video game. So we've both been dabbling in art. Like Chris mainly does a lot of the mapping, and I do a lot more of the icon work and some animations and trying to get the monsters to come to life more with breathing movements and such. But yeah, we just found that we needed a bit more art chops, so we've just been on the go learning as we've been making the game and improving and just growing.
Well, the monsters are definitely adorable. I
Thank you.
really do like the sprites. I think everything's so cute. And it's also kind of like it definitely is in my like favorite type of genre games. So, I guess my next question would be when oh, the little mushroom guys? Oh, the myconids. Pookie really likes the myconids a lot.
Awesome.
Um, so on that note, did you gather inspiration not just from like older games because it does kind of have a retro feel. I'm not trying to I don't know if that was on purpose. I'm not trying to offend you or anything by saying that. It has a
No, it absolutely does.
okay. So were things like Dungeons and Dragons also an inspiration for some of the monsters and the characters in this world?
So, yeah, like you said, we are both huge fans of retro RPGs. My personal favorite and one of the biggest inspirations for SGOD is Golden Sun in that series.
Mm.
I've played those games probably a half dozen times over the years, um, and it's still just always a super fun experience. So games like that, Chrono Trigger, the original Final Fantasy VII, are all big inspirations, and a genre that we both love and play a lot of. Um, but also not so. The other, I would say, the second biggest inspiration is actually classical period history.
Mm.
Um, so the in the demo, the area you're in Amunii and the temple area and the Verdant Temple, that's all based on Celtic mythology. Celtic mythology. So the sylphs, the myconids, um, you'll face other creatures like mandragoras, and you saw the Branos. When I was watching your stream, the evasive crow mobs. They're all based on mythical creatures from Celtic mythology, and um, a lot of the sort of the style of the world is based on classical period motifs. And in the wider game, for example, we have areas based on Greek and Carthaginian history or mythology, as the better word. We have stuff based on Germanic and African and Norse, and just trying to take sort of ancient mythology from the classical period and sort of bring that and create a world, drawing from those themes. And I think it's a time period that isn't really represented well in RPGs. Most RPGs and fantasy games and stories in general sort of draw from medieval um, cultures and things.
Mhm.
But I've always been a big fan of classical period history. So yeah, it's one of the big inspirations for the game world and the story. And I think once the full game is released and you're playing through, you'll see a lot of um, you'll see that inspiration shine through.
So, knowing that, now I need to apologize because I was struggling to pronounce some of the names because I
Mhm.
wasn't able to quite pinpoint where they would that would come from. Pookie's laughing at me. And I was kind of like I also have been very much in like watching a lot of like yeah, not to be too trend fuckery, but um and that was my first curse this whole stream. So yay everybody. I need props. We'll have the editor edit out that later. But I've been watching more Korean K dramas and stuff like that and
Oh,
reading
nice.
K stuff. So my I had to stop myself from trying to pronounce it like that because I was like, this is not. This is not at all. So having that little bit of information, maybe next time I play, I'll be able to pronounce the names correctly. On that note, there are some names. Can you give me a hint?
Yeah, absolutely. What names what were you thinking of?
So the elder lady who um Ni Naima Naima
Niam?
Niam. Okay.
Niam.
Right. So I kind of wanted to pronounce it obviously very wrong. Niam. Okay. So that's a big hint for me. So I think I'll be able to pronounce everything else. Like I was clearly able to pronounce Cormac, but that's just good to know. Um so what was it like approaching developing this game from scratch? Like I know that you kind of went through the timeline of might as well do it now, but I'm sure you had your ups and downs. Looking back on it, what was it? What are some things you wish you had known? What are some things that are just like most people would never think of when they are start trying to develop a game like this?
Yeah, number one most important lesson, wait till the end to do tutorials, or else you're gonna have to do them over and over again. Um,
Okay.
that's something, yeah, we've probably, if you, the tutorials that pop up in the demo, we've probably recreated them, I don't know, 15 times by now.
Oh wow.
Just because like whenever we like the art in the first area has been updated like over time from where it was back in the original alpha when we first um, were sharing the game around, and it's like it's much improved. But every time we improve it, we have to go retake all the pictures for the tutorials,
Mm.
um, which is a bit time consuming and tedious. Um, but on a more serious note, although that's all 100% true. But I think probably having a foundation in all the different disciplines required to make a game is a much bigger task than I originally thought.
Mm.
Because if when you're an indie developer and just a small team, it's just the two of us. We have to be writers, we have to be artists, we have to be coders, we have to be social media and marketing gurus. Um, we have to manage the finances, like our own, personal finances and the studio's finances, and it is a lot.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's absolutely worth it. I love game development. I love telling stories, and it's just been a really rewarding and fulfilling experience. But it's a much bigger, it's a lot more work than I first expected when I was sort of dabbling in things like Unity and RPG Maker and stuff like that, and figuring out what engine we wanted to use. I didn't expect how difficult it would be.
Mm. And you guys are using RPG Maker, right?
Yeah, that's so that is the core game engine.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's so of like I would say the most popular game engines are probably um, Unreal Engine, Unity, and RPG Maker. And I would say that RPG Maker is probably the most user friendly of them.
Okay.
Um, and if you know how to code, you can do anything with it that you would do in any other engine. Um, so I think it's a great, if anyone was thinking about getting into game development, I think it's a great engine to start out with. Probably in future games, we move over to Unity just because it's a little easier to do more complex things. Like, for example, collision detection in Unity is way easier than it is in RPG Maker. But when if you don't need something like that, or if you're just starting out, I think it's a great engine to go to. And if you know how to code, you can do anything with it that you can do in any other engine.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you had an alpha, and I did see that you had folks in there who are testing. How how did how did your testing work? Like you had a couple people listed in the credits as testers. Did you drive them insane? Or did they have to write you long articles or long essays about how they tried to break the game and they were able to like clip through this wall, that wall, etc.?
So with our alpha, we just kind of shared it around through some friends and family and got them to play test and to look for sort of bugs and stuff like that. Um, One of the most interesting and notorious bugs I think they found was if you remember Songflower, the little cat in the village, there
Yes.
was a certain place you could stand in the village that would bug out the cat so it would start moonwalking and it would just move back and forth moonwalking. It was really weird. I have no idea how that happened.
That's hilarious, and I'm
Um,
kind of sad that I couldn't I couldn't make that happen, but I'm glad you guys were able to catch that. Ah, I wish I could have seen it.
it was when the tester first showed it to us, I was just like, how on earth did you make that happen? But eventually we were able to figure it out and get that bug fixed. But besides that, our publisher also has their own QA department, and they also contract with third party professional testers that they've sent the game out to the third party and they've done their own internal QA testing.
That's pretty
Yeah,
awesome. So, how is it? Everybody knows horror stories of publishers. So, how were you able to find your publisher?
Paige, you take this one? Maybe I can chime in.
Sure. So actually, um, our current publisher was definitely not the first one we've reached out to. Um, it's kind of similar, I guess, of a process. Like, if you're writing a novel for the first time or have some sort of idea and trying to um, pitch it to others, it tends to take quite a while before finally someone sees the shine in it. Um, and I don't even remember how many we submitted to, probably at least 50. And we heard some no's back from a chunk, and another handful we just heard no responses from. And we were starting to look into, do we actually need a publisher? What do we do? And one day, actually, Chris stumbled, like on a whim almost, stumbled upon our current publisher. It was like, sure, let's throw a dart. Like we've applied to this many. Let's just give them a shot. And they actually expressed interest in our game, and we were shocked and oh so grateful. And the rest is history from there.
Nice. And just we have a question in chat. Who is your publisher? Since they seemed kind of awesome.
So they are indie.io.
Nice. So
The
we. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna
I
say?
was just gonna say they're a really cool publisher. They've been really helpful in sort of amping up our marketing presence and getting the game into QA and some of the features that are in the demo and in the main game. They really pushed us to include, such as we originally had like a much more simplified control scheme, but having hotkeys to open up specific parts of the menu, like the inventory and things like that, having a WADS preset that's easy to access, things like that are things that they push us towards, and I think it's really helped to make the game more accessible, um, and that's a really great thing.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I noticed when I played it again recently. I had to like I always try to give games the first shot with whatever control scheme they designed it to have, but I was struggling. I just kept because and I especially since I'm not originally a PC gamer, I'm a big console gamer, so I had to like train my fingers, and I was losing my fingers. And I'm not saying that was the game fault, but I'm glad there's options now for WASD and things like that. So I appreciate that. Uh, so that was
It's
cool.
actually too very helpful having streamers such as yourself playing our game because we saw your struggles and we were like, like to us, we thought we had resolved the issue, but we've come up with a way now that we think we can by default allow WADs too. So there's no need to go into the options menu. We don't have that out yet, but we have plans to.
No, that's cool. Yay! Yeah, I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just like, I'm glad you guys got some good info from it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
all right, back to the fun parts. I really appreciate that you guys have a female main character without like having it be some kind of outside influence. So, what did make you choose a female main character? Like a priestess story?
Um, so for me, I Wedellia was just the natural main character of the story. When I was just coming up with the story and putting things together, she was just the central focus. And I also thought it would be, I thought it would be really cool because, like, I think that female protagonists in RPGs, even today, are pretty rare, and they especially were in retro games back in the day. I mean, you look back at like Chrono Trigger and stuff, amazing games, wonderful, but not very many had female protagonists. So I wanted to not only was she the natural character to lead this story, but I also um, I wanted to have a female protagonist in the story that was not just replacing a male protagonist, but this was a story that,
Belongs to
you know,
her.
exactly, yeah, exactly.
Sorry to put words in your mouth.
No, 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 that's exactly what I was trying to say.
So I don't know. I'm going back to the technical side again. So there's two things. I know that you said you're slated for release in 2027, tentatively, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So have you ever, and I know this is a PC game, have you guys given any thought to maybe in 2 years doing a port to the console world, Nintendo or um, PlayStation or Xbox?
yeah. Actually, we've already laid the groundwork for that. We have full Xbox and PlayStation controller support already. We have Switch controller support as well, although it's a little. We don't officially like if you can set your Switch emotes up to your PC, you can use them to play the game. I'll set it up to do so, but we don't because those Switch controllers are so different from a regular gamepad. It's a little more tricky to sort of like coding it isn't difficult,
Hmm.
but having a control scheme that makes sense because there's fewer buttons, it's harder to do things like hotkeys and stuff like that. So we don't officially support it, but we do have full support and full customization for Xbox and PlayStation controllers. So porting to a console is something we definitely want to do. It's just,
That it's further down the line.
yeah, it's further down the line because it's more it's expensive. It's
Mm.
going to take, for example, the game is coded in JavaScript, and the Switch does not support JavaScript. That's not saying that it can't, but you basically, to get a little technical, to run Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death on a Switch, I'd have to wrap everything so that it could be understood by the Switch, like simulate as if it were done in C++, even though it's done in JavaScript, which is possible, but very time consuming. So we just don't have the time to worry about that right now. We have to focus on making the game and telling the story. But in the future, we absolutely hope to be able to bring it to consoles.
That would be awesome. Which means I'm gonna have to get it twice. All right, we do have
We
a
appreciate
question.
that.
I mean, I did it for BG3 too. But I've got a question in chat. Did Paige ever chime in during the writing process to say a woman wouldn't do that?
Well, actually, yes. For the most part, being female myself, I think the writing's great. And the characters feel to me how they're supposed to feel, and the emotional beats and the stories feel on point. But there's actually a few points in a later act that I thought to me that some of her responses were just not, it just didn't make sense or a bit too, not cliche, but just something that I think was more of a mindset of, uh, I don't know, someone who hasn't experienced what females experience in certain situations. So I've spoken up about those though, and they've been tweaked so now they feel a bit more natural and a bit more friendly to players of both genders, and don't ostracize anybody or whatever. Like nothing bad, but yeah, it's rare. It's rare though.
No, that's cool. That's hilarious. Cool. And no offense to Chris, I'm not terribly surprised.
That's totally fair.
I did notice, so like I was really sad that the demo ended as quick as it did. And I did notice that you on the Steam page there's a lot more you have a lot more images and stuff ready. Um so are you guys still making updates to the demo and adding stuff to and from the demo? Should I like play the demo again in 6 months and see what's been added or changed? Or just play it on my own time and just whine because it's not out yet?
Yeah. So we don't plan to make any more updates to the demo at this point. We might do a small update to add the WAD support that Paige was talking about earlier. Just taking it from like an option you have to go into the options menu to select to just make it default.
Hmm.
Um, but other than that, the demo is pretty much done. When we get the final when the final release of the game comes out, I definitely would recommend playing over from scratch, if even if you've already started the demo and beaten it, because there's a lot of updates to the first few hours of the game that aren't in the demo.
Hmm.
There's new spells, some changes to monsters, um,
Okay.
and just other sort of quality of life updates and content for the new year. Not a whole lot, but there is some enough that playing through it again, I think, would definitely be worth it.
All
Um,
right. It means there's no point in me grinding to be super over leveled in the demo. Understood.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't recommend that.
Dang.
Although, feel free. You absolutely feel free.
All right. Well, let's see. We did kind of cover a lot of my last group of questions. Um, it is nice that there'll be new stuff coming out. What do you think is the most important ingredient in making this game? What was the most important thing?
The most important ingredient. That's a good question.
For me at least, well, probably for both of us in part, I'd say definitely not giving up. Oh, it's kind of silly to say, but in any, I feel like, task of creating something, there's going to be a lot of times of joy and a lot of times of frustration and it's important to take breaks for sure and just come back to it later. And sometimes you have an epiphany or see a different route that can take, because there have been just a number of times throughout the game making process of just like, this is a lot. Knowing in advance, like, oh no, this bug might take us an entire day to fix, but it's important to do it and keep trucking and keep at it.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Is there anything else specifically that you want to share with your audience and potential future customers who are very interested in the games of this type and your game specifically?
As far as, I guess, what I would want to say is that I think that if you haven't tried Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death yet, um, if you like old school RPGs, give our game a try, give our world a try, and I think you will like it. I know you will like it. We put our heart and soul into it, and we love what we do. We're gamers ourselves, RPG gamers. We know what, or at least we think we know what makes a great RPG, and we're doing our best to bring that forward, as well as to have a story that ties all the gameplay together that is as impactful as the ones back in the day that sort of for me kind of shaped me into becoming who I am today. Like those really epic stories that stuck with you is something that I am doing my absolute best to bring forward into Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death, and hopefully future games as well.
Awesome. Well, we have one last question in the chat. Or is that two questions? Are there hidden? So, first question, hidden gems in the demo. Kind of. I can answer that one.
Literally.
I had a walkthrough with help me out. I was looking for something and I was like right on top of it. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. But yes, there is a hidden treasure in the demo. Next question from chat. What does a typical day in the studio look like?
So actually, let me follow up to the previous question.
Uh-oh.
Just a small little thing. There's actually, if you go into Niam and Kazin's house on the second floor, you'll find a chest. And depending on whether or not you loot that chest, there's just a very slight change in the story if you come back there later. Nothing big or impactful, but if you speak to Kazin upstairs, he'll have a different response depending on whether or not you stole his money.
Oh shit.
And we love including small little things like that throughout the game. I think one thing that some games may suffer too much from is just NPC bloat.
Mm.
And that's something we really try to avoid, and to make our characters everywhere throughout the game sort of feel like they belong and feel like they react to what's going on in the story. Um, so even NPCs they may not seem important now may be involved in quests later, or may show up to be a more important player in the story than you would think. Um, so don't count out any characters you meet along the way, and Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death could be important later.
Next time I play this, guys, when the game comes out, remind me not to loot that chest. I'm not saying I'm not saying I didn't. I did. But whoops. All
That's
right.
it's
No
very difficult to
judgment.
do, though. I mean, who can not loot a treasure chest in an RPG?
Hmm? Um oh, uh can we go back to the we still didn't answer the what the typical day in the studio looks like as I
So
play.
typical day in the studio. So when I say studio, I mean it figuratively, not literally. We do not have our own. We are I guess a typical day is we wake up, we make breakfast. I make some coffee. Paige doesn't like coffee. Um, Strange, honestly. Um, but and then we boot up our laptops and get to work. We work a lot. But that's about. I guess we have a giant Google sheet of tasks that we need to do. We sort of set checkpoints for ourselves and goals, like monthly goals that we work towards. And we have longer term stretch goals set by both ourselves and our publisher that we need to meet. Milestones, I guess, is the right word for it. Um, so yeah, each day is sort of inching a little bit closer to those milestones, and sort of we build the game in sort of in acts, and we when we're working like right now we're working on Act 3 of 4, and we're about 3/4 ish of the way through with that, and we sort of want each time we complete a new area, we like to go back and play the act from the beginning and play through it and just think, does the story make sense? Is every part of this fun? Of course, are there any bugs that we need to iron out? Um, and just sort of make adjustments to the story beats and the gameplay to make sure that we're keeping everything as fun and interesting and engaging as possible. And then we'll make the next area, and then we'll go back and play through it again. We're pretty meticulous. We just love playing RPGs in general. So I mean, that's one of the best perks of the job is getting to play the game, um, as you make it. So
All right. This is a two-part question. Well, what this question I need to answer from both of you. Which character is your favorite? Oh, Pookie put the question also in the chat. Which character is your favorite character in the game thus far? Like who's your baby?
Well, mine is definitely Ano. That's another name probably. Well, I pronounce it Ano. I think Chris pronounces it I know, like a little differently, but she's just a
I
bundle of joy.
I absolutely said her name wrong. I know who you're talking about.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's hard too. It's like if you're reading a book but you haven't stumbled upon these names before, how would you know just off the bat this is what their name is like? But she's great. She's fun. She's different, unique, but she's her own person. And I hope you all, if you don't like her already, like will come to truly love her more as the story progresses because she's just awesome.
What about you,
uh,
Chris?
for for me, I would say that I'm gonna sort of divide it between two characters. So primarily, Wedellia is my favorite character. I think she is someone who takes her responsibilities very seriously, and she's not afraid to. She will do whatever it takes to protect those she cares about, and I I find her to be a very inspiring character for me personally, and I think that her development over the story is also, I don't want to spoil anything, but she goes through a lot over the course of the game. And, despite everything that she goes through, she keeps pushing forward in order to protect those she cares about and those she loves. And so I just think she's an awesome character, and I'm really happy with how she develops over the course of the story. But I guess so that is my primary favorite character, I would say. But then there's another character that you will meet named Casius, who is sort of one of the main antagonists. Um, and I think people will like this character. He's kind of a badass, to be honest. And I think he is he's very sort of sincere. He's duteous, and does what needs to be done. And I just think he's a great antagonist who has, he's not just, what, what I don't like in stories are cliche villains that it doesn't make sense what they're doing. They're just villainous for the being for the sake of being villainous. So I try my hardest when I'm writing antagonists that every character in the story has a reason for what they're doing, and they're not just a cliche villain. And so I like all of the villains in our game. They're really cool.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. um, Actually, it's funny because on the stream right now is showing me failing to figure out the one secret puzzle. Um, well, I think that's it for chat. Last chance to get more questions in. And next time I play, I swear I won't just rob the nice old couple at the end of town.
It's totally up to you. Do
I did
whatever your
also.
conscience allows.
I noticed that sometimes you can give little snarky answers, and that's not necessarily my style, but I definitely. Oh, chat's got the good questions. What are your top 5 RPGs? This is another 5 from each of you request.
For me, it's going to be Golden Sun, Final Fantasy VII, the original.
Woohoo!
What else? I would say Fantasy Star 4. Probably after that, it gets a little tough, but I would definitely put Chrono Cross on that list. Um, Chrono Trigger is amazing too, but I'm on the Chrono Cross side of things.
Mm.
And the Shining Force games, I really love those. I'm also a big fan of tactical RPGs. So games like that, like Shining Force, and Triangle Strategy is a recent one that's really good. You never played that? It's a recent game for the Switch. It's got a really great story. It's very Shakespearean, and I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot because of that.
Shakespearean tragedy or comedy?
Tragedy,
Mm.
100%. It is a very every Triangle Strategy is one of those games where like you think it can't get any worse, and then it does. Um, every
Oh,
step of the way, and I loved it.
angst. Angst fans. Angst RPG fans. Got it. What about you, Paige?
So favorites are not my strong suit, picking favorites, but
This
I
week.
definitely like it's just tough, but
Yeah.
uh I've definitely been impacted a lot by Undertale. I haven't played much of Deltarune yet, but Undertale is definitely up there for me. Twilight Princess, Legend of Zelda. I enjoyed that one immensely. The slightly darker, more take on Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Definitely Chrono Cross. I like to compare that to SGOD a little bit in that it takes more of a chill kind of vibe to the game. It's just relaxing, the music and the scenery. So we've tried to make SGOD and also chill game to play just after a long day of work. Um, what else? Oh my. Final Fantasy 6 and 7 I've enjoyed quite a bit. Um ah,
No,
I'm
I think
blanking right now.
I think
Oh, I
that's 5.
also loved Pokemon XD. That's not as common of one, but I thought it was really cool that you could steal other people's Pokemon, but for justice in a way, and try and cleanse their hearts from darkness into light. So games with like a darker kind of spin, but nothing too dark, I've enjoyed the most.
I will take your Pokemon and do what's best for the Pokemons.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, chat, you guys have got the good questions. I feel like I was bad at this. Come on, chat, let's go. Any future games planned? That's a good one.
Yeah, actually, so first off, Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death is just the first half of a duology that we have planned. We're already writing out the story um, for the sequel. Sort of not like we're not really working on the sequel, but as we come across, as we build out the story and flesh things out in the first game, um, we sort of are keeping in mind how that's going to link in with some of the major story beats we have planned for the sequel. Of course, that just depends on how successful this first game is, and we really hope it will be, so that we can make the sequel and push forward with that. Um, so we definitely have that planned. Um, though, just to
Nice.
be clear, Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death is also a fully contained story. There's not like it's not going to just end halfway or something like that. It's
No sequel bait, but there will be a
there's
sequel.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing like that.
Okay.
You know, but there is a sequel planned, and stuff that's happening in the story and in the game world now is going to tie directly into that.
Will you be
Beyond that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
so will I know that you're saying that the first game is going to be a complete game, like a beginning and middle and end
Mhm.
story is full. And then but the stuff that happened in the first game will affect the second game. Will that extend to like save files? So like will it build up? I know some games used to more so in like the late noughties than now would say, "Oh, I see you've played the first one," and they'll take that save file. Or will there be like a canon? This is where we're picking up for the second game. Or is that something you guys haven't planned out yet?
So I will just say that I would very much like it to be that your save file you can take forward into the next game. Now, if you've ever played the Golden Sun games, how they work is you play through the first game, and in the second game, the perspective switches to a different party,
Mhm.
and then you play as them for a while, and then you meet up with the first party, and then you go and you finish the game with the combined, big party of
The
both
combined
games.
might.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we have Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death and its sequel planned out, where the second game is going to start off with a new group, and you're going to follow their perspective for a while, and eventually they're going to meet up um, with Wedelia's group, and um, well, what happens from there, you'll have to find out. But the idea is that it would work sort of like the Golden Sun games, so that you would have a combined group, and the progress would carry over. So when you get Wedellia and company in your party, they're going to be exactly how you left them.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, we think that would be really really cool, and it's something we absolutely hope to do.
Nice. Okay. Chat is popping off. What is your most played game when you were younger, like as a child? Like for me, my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VII, but in reality, I was mostly playing Mario Kart the whole time. So, what's your most played game as a child?
Mario Kart 64 was amazing.
Hmm.
But my most played game, probably Baldur's Gate 2, actually. And
Hell
I totally
yeah!
forgot to
Woo!
mention this in my favorite games list, but like the computer, not the PlayStation sort of action RPG one, but the CRPG Baldur's Gate 2.
Hmm.
I played the crap out of that game, and absolutely I'm a huge fan of the Baldur's Gate series and that style of CRPG in general. So I've played Baldur's Gate 3, and I've played Outcast Pathfinder games. Games like that are huge. But yeah, between Baldur's Gate 2, Fantasy Star 4, Shining Force 2, I played a ton, but I didn't actually own it. So I had to talk my parents into renting it for me over and over again, so that I could keep playing it.
Oh,
Um,
lackluster video.
exactly. Um, yeah, I think probably most of my gaming time as a kid was spent replaying those three games, along with Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 9. And when 10 came out on the PlayStation 2, it just like totally blew me away. Like the graphics were just incredible. The story is great. I love that. I played that a ton. I played a lot of different games. Also played games in genres besides RPG. Spent a ton of time in James Bond GoldenEye for the N64.
A
I
true
played the crap
classic.
out of that game.
Hmm.
Well, this kind of goes back to the favorites again. I always struggle with, but what came to mind while Chris was speaking was The Legend of Dragoon. I
Oof.
forgot entirely about that game for the
Nice.
previous question, but that was like the oldest game system I owned was a PlayStation 1. And that was one of the games that I got. And I just thought the art style was so unique that sort of kind of like Final Fantasy VII, the original one. That kind of blocky, pixely, I forget the name. But having that and the characters looked more adult like, they could traverse the world in these through these pictures pretty much of art and so many little secrets. I love the fight style with timing the button presses and trying to get Lavitz's, what was it, his one of his spear attacks with like an 8 button press combo was the hardest thing for me as a kid. So I played through it a few years ago and did considerably better now with the knowledge I have. And I actually learned that the female in that game, that's with you for quite a while, Shauna, she's a archer. Well, apparently she can even use the magical items and deal a lot more damage than I knew. And as a kid, I would just spam shoot. So I've grown a lot, but I just didn't know at the time. But I enjoy that game immensely. The plot's incredible. Stories, well, the story's great, yeah, but it's just so fun, and seeing all these monsters and everything come to life through the art style is quite unique and a memorable experience.
Awesome. Great picks. All right. Another question from the chatters. What is your fastest turnoff in modern games?
For me, it's a bad story. If I'm not engaged with the story, I like to give things a chance, whether it's a game or whether it's a new anime or a new show on HBO or something. I'll usually like play for give it a couple hours, a few hours, or show a few episodes. But if I'm not hooked with the story, I'm gonna drop it. I I would say that with games, there's sort of like three pillars that make a great game, and that is the gameplay, the art, and the story. And all three of these are equally important. And but for me, if I'm even if the art and the gameplay are really good, if the story doesn't hook me within the first few hours of the game, I'm going to drop it.
Yeah, I can see
And
that.
for you go.
Oh, I was just saying I can see that. I agree.
For me, the biggest turnoff, I agree with Chris that story is probably one of the biggest factors, in addition to the other pillars. But um, at least this game that I had tried sometime last year, I believe it was, it looked beautiful. It had almost like some comic book panel art coming out sometimes. I thought that was clever. Reminded me of Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, sorry, Fantasy Star 4 or some. I got it, but it ended up being that after maybe an hour of playing through the game, I stopped playing, not because of difficulty or anything, but it really bothered me the treatment of I guess treatment, the representation of the main character in the game, because they were female, and it just felt talking with some of the male NPCs in the game was just really uncomfortable and reminded me of some real world experiences I've had or seen in movies and on TV, and just made me think like this doesn't feel like someone who understands women like wrote this, and it just had a bad taste in my mouth, so I just stopped playing.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that insight. I do kind of get it. I tend to avoid games that make you feel, that kind of just squick you out like that. Um, Another question we got from the chat is most unexpected thing that has happened since you started making the game.
Well, we already told the Moonwalking Cat Bug story, so let me give me a second to come up with something better.
Oh, I had one of the days, not maybe not the most unexpected, but quite a humorous one at the time. I was playtesting through one of our acts, and I'm inspecting everything from all these different angles and redoing conversations. And at one point, I'm chatting with an NPC, and after the chat finishes, the party is supposed to rejoin, like regroup up into Wedellia's walking sprite. Well, they didn't do that. Instead, Ano just starts running around the black side of the screen down like into an invisible hallway. I'm like, okay, that's that. That's a bug. And just little things like that are just such a delight when they happen. And why did that happen?
Uh, Another question about the game. What, so we were talking about the composition of the music for the game. What is your favorite musical piece of the game? Is the music separated into areas, or is there like a theme song for the characters, certain characters? And what's your favorite piece?
So my favorite piece in the game um, is probably the world map music. Um, we have we have an old school style world map that you'll eventually get to traverse across. Think of Final Fantasy VII or Chrono Trigger and games like that. And the piece we got for that, uh, give me one second, because I don't want to mess up the composer's name. Paige, you want to answer the question while I look for this?
Sure. So one of my favorite pieces is actually from a place that is outside of the demo. But in Act 2, you can visit this place called Gaiming,
Hmm.
and it's such a chill beach town. And as a player, the moment I enter Gaiming, I am instantly just soothed and relaxed, and I just want to stay there and linger for half an hour. And it's not even a big town, but the music alone, the ambiance of the waves, I'm just so oh, it's
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny because when I was playing the game, I was sitting there and I was like, I know there's lots of quote unquote cozy games, but this is my version of a cozy game. And then I turned around and immediately started cussing out the thing I was fighting. But yeah, it's very cozy. Like the time flew while I was playing.
awesome. We're glad to hear it. That's one of our main goals of the game. So the fact that it's spread to not just us but to you as well and others like that, ooh, that feels great.
Also, I'm always happy to pet the cat.
Yes, yes, we
Pookie just
actually
asked if we could pet the cat, and I was like, "You can pet the cat. I pet the cat for like 5 minutes yesterday."
There's even we have a few other animals later in the game.
You can pet more
Not too
animals?
many now. Like but there's this pig that appears later that's named Lady Haughty Snort. And I love the interactions with Lady Haughty Snort. She is a regal pig. And I love the amount of time and effort we've put into just this pig on the side of a map that someone could easily just not even bother with. But if you take the time, you could spend a good, 5-10 minutes having a blast with this pig. It's incredible.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. I'm excited. I love petting the animals. Listen, if you tell me I can pet the cats, pet the dogs, and now there's also a pig interaction, sold. Love
All right,
it.
just for the record, I took up had to go open up our list of attributions and credits, but the world map music is done by Nakara Doll, Nakara de Alexander, sorry. And we've got a few of their tracks that we've licensed for use in the game, and they're amazing. They have a lot more music. You should absolutely check them out on YouTube. Um, but yeah, we use one of their tracks for our world map music. And it's phenomenal. I love it. It's super. It really helps to tie in because music is really important to sort of the building the atmosphere and to immersing people into um, the world. And I think what we've done with the world map, uh, besides the art, which I'm really proud of, it's all hand drawn, and the music really helps to sort of bring that sort of retro RPG feeling of just exploration and wonder and adventure um, that that we really want to bring forward. That sort of made the world maps of those the great classics as awesome as they were. So yeah,
Do you think you'll be releasing the soundtrack?
no, we will not be releasing the soundtrack because for several of our composers, we have a license to use it in the game, but to not release it separately. So we won't be doing that because yeah, that's just
Yep.
we are very with the stuff that we the composers that we've licensed music from and the artists because for some of our artwork we also get other we license artwork from other indie artists
Hmm.
and we'll make the modifications and whatnot to bring it into the game, but we intellectual property is really important to us. And that's one of the reasons we went with our publisher ultimately is that we still have full control over the intellectual property of the game. And it's really important to us that we respect um, the other incredible indie artists and composers out there and their wishes with their work. So I know and the soundtrack for the game is amazing. It is I absolutely love it. I'm super happy with the music that we've chosen and implemented into the game. But unfortunately, there will not be a separate soundtrack of Sunflowers and the Gods of Death.
No, that's totally understandable. Do I do have some intimate knowledge about music licensing and how that works, so I appreciate you for sharing that information with us, though. Thank you so much. And also, even the chat was like, much respect for supporting indie artists and working in that way. So we all appreciate that. All
I
right,
think
guys. Oh, let's go ahead.
I was just going to say, um, along the way of developing this game, we have become sort of semi-regulars in other in indie forums around the internet, and we've gotten a lot of help from other um, just indie developers along the way and helping us, especially when we were first starting out. Nowadays we're fortunate enough that we've learned enough about pixel arts and excuse me, pixel art and coding and getting things to just function the way you want them. That we're able to help other people, other devs just starting out. There were a lot of people who helped us when we were first starting out, and I think just to share a little bit, I guess, about the indie development community in general, it's awesome. There are a ton of really supportive and kind people, and even though, like, at the end of the day, we're kind of competitors, we are competitors, but we also help each other. So it's been a really rewarding experience, and I'm really happy that nowadays we're able to help others in the same way that we were helped early on.
So I do remember earlier this year you were part of a an event for other with a bunch of indie developers who were using the same engine as you are, as the RPG Maker engine.
Mhm.
Is there any plan to continue doing some events like that this year?
Yeah. So events in general are something that's um, handled by our publisher for the most part now.
Hmm.
Um, that event in particular, we went to because we were invited. We were regulars on within the RPG Maker community, and they invited us to take part in the festival. But for the most part, it's our publisher that handles Steam events and third-party events and stuff and showcases and stuff like that. So it'll ultimately be up to them, but we absolutely want to be a part of more events, and we're going to try to get into more stuff where we can showcase the game to people who haven't heard about it yet. 'Cause I think that's the most difficult part of being in creating an indie game or any sort of being an indie artist or an indie composer or anything is getting the word out. Um,
Trying to be seen in
there's
the sea full of noise. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's you know, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, but um, it's difficult. I know that if people give our game, give our world a shot, they're going to love it. But it's hard to get people to take the time to give something a try. Um, but festivals on Steam are a really great way to sort of get your foot in the door. So we will absolutely be trying to get into more stuff.
And so while we are waiting it with bated breath for the game to come out, are there any games that you recommend for this is mostly a question from chat. Any games you recommend for us to play while we wait from any of your indie dev allies?
For me, I would say if you haven't, it depends on what type of genre of game you like. And so I'm going to recommend a few games. They are all just full disclosure, they are published by indie.io.
Zwool just
But
followed.
I am saying these games because these are games I actually played myself before they became our publisher. So I'm not just, what's the word for it? Um,
You're not just publicizing for your publisher.
Yeah, exactly. So these are games that I personally played before, and they're one of the reasons why when they wanted to publish us, I was like, oh my God, you guys are the ones who publish these games. Like, absolutely. But if you like Pokemon games, Coromon was a really cool one. Um, it's sort of plays like old school Pokemon, but with a lot of sort of quality of life features. There's a lot of like right from the get go of the game, a lot of randomization and stuff you can do. Like you can randomize where all the creatures are in the game. A lot of difficulty setting type stuff. So if you're in creature tamer games, that one's really good. If you like strategy RPGs, um, if you ever played Ogre Battle 64, which is another one of my favorite games as a kid, there's a game called Symphony of War. It's an indie game that is very similar in style and had a really great story as well. The story in that game was top notch. definitely would recommend those two games. Um, as far as like really top-notch indie games. I guess I'll throw one more out there, and this is not a game from my publisher. There's a game called To the Moon. This is actually an RPG Maker game as well. Absolute like phenomenal storytelling in that game. It is very short, and it's not a traditional. It's like an RPG, but there isn't much combat. I don't think there's any combat really. It's just a story that you play through, but it is a very heart-wrenching story. Um, and I would definitely recommend if you like games like that. All three of those games are top-notch indie games, and in my honest opinion, they are better than most AAA games that come out these days. And I would highly recommend all of them.
Nice. All right. We have another question from the chat. What is a dream collaboration that you're looking for? Be it developer, artist, um, digital art, music, whatever, whichever collaboration you would dream about.
For me, this may be a little bit out there, but if you ever played the Shadow Hearts RPGs, um, the devs behind those games, they're just they're so creative. And they're definitely some of like I wouldn't put them on my like top 5 list of favorite games or anything, but they're very unique. And I think if I for some time in the future able to work with them to create a horror RPG, those would be the partners of choice uh, for that sort of game.
How about you, Paige? What's your dream collab?
Ah,
You
a
could say
dream
Kojima-san. It's fine.
collab.
It's like
Um, hmm, I really don't know. Ultimately, since a we're just two devs, at the moment, it'd just be awesome to have just a bigger team.
no.
Since we are wearing so many different hats every day, and it changes so much, having like someone that's has more experience in art and could focus more on helping us create the world we want to, having someone who's more experienced in music so we can actually um release the music as a bundle and people can enjoy their soundtracks and just things that um we might not have the most top tier skill sets of ourselves would help definitely help bring our game up a notch and potential future games. Fingers crossed.
I believe there will be future games. I believe it. I'm willing it into existence. All right, guys. I thank you so much for joining today. I don't want to take up your entire night. We've been going for a while, but final thoughts. Any final thoughts that you want to share with the audience? I think I hinted at that before, but final thoughts, moments of zen you would like to share with the audience.
Well, for me, just thank you everyone so much. And like Chris was saying earlier, if you haven't played the demo, please give it a try. Like, tell your friends. It's quite a blast. When we were watching your stream the other day, we saw it as a couple hours worth, and it's just that's not even the whole act. Like, there's so much more out there of the game, and just more love to experience once we release the full game, and just thank you all again for your support, and we hope you'll stick with us, and thank you.
Thank
I
you.
would say I would just echo Paige's sentiment a lot here and saying, thank you very much for having us on your stream. Thank you to everyone who came to listen in. Um, I'm honored to be here, truly, and yeah, I hope that you will not only play our game, but also give indie games in general more of your time because there are so many incredible indie gems out there to discover that frankly kick the ass of a lot of the AAA games coming out these days. So once you've played Sunflowers and the Goddess of Death to your heart's content, please check out other indie games and give their worlds a try as well. And again, thank you so much for letting us be here and talk about the game.
Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good night. And we will be keeping an eye out for the game and any updates, and we'll keep an eye on the Steam page. We have posted the Steam page in the chat. I think it's pinned in the chat. Um, and if anyone has any questions about the game, you can find Paige and Chris on Blue Sky, and we can put their Blue Sky in the chat as well. All right.
Thank you again, everyone. Take care. Have a
Thanks.
wonderful week.
We're going to take a quick intermission for anyone who wants to hang out, and I'll be back.